Here we are, Greg, live on YouTube.
Live
Uh,
in that's
Live in
good.
the flesh, sort of.
Live in the flesh.
Greg, welcome to the Wealth and Wellness podcast report. This has been a show I've done here for a little over a year. You are our 44th episode, and really excited to have you on the show, man, because we're both in the commercial real estate space. You've got Bay Area blood.
Yes, I do.
And we immediately hit it off when we met each other on Instagram. And I think we met through Carlo Markarian at the One West group, which
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
a member of, which great group, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I hear you. I've been
yeah,
seeing you guys on social media. You guys are blowing up. It's great.
we're active, man. So it's great to have you. For the audience, I'd love for you to maybe give us a good 30 seconds to a minute. Like, tell us about who you are, where you come from, and the genesis.
Absolutely. So, born and raised in the Bay Area, East Bay, and a little place called Orinda. It's about like 10 minutes from Berkeley. I grew up going to the Warriors games, so I'm a Warriors fan through and through. Um, and moved out over here in Jersey in 2019 with my wife, and we bought our first home in 2020, which is a great time. So March 13th,
2%
20.
interest rate or what?
Oh yeah, it's basically it. It was
Mm,
great. We thought the world's ending, but actually it was a blessing in disguise when it comes to purchasing a home.
yeah.
And then we have two small kids. I was in the behavioral world for about 12 years, working with special needs kids and at-risk youth, from about 6 months old all the way to about 24-year-old, 26-year-olds. And then once I came out here in Jersey, I was going to be a stay-at-home dad for a bit, and I needed to kind of switch things up. So I thought real estate would be super flexible, and it was
Mm,
not.
yeah.
It's 24/7 nonstop, but I love it. It's definitely um, challenged me in a lot of ways, which is great. Which I always love to kind of see how I can push the envelope, if you will, and see how I can kind of help my family out financially and help out the clients that I'll be working with and expand the relationships. And that's like how I got to meet you now. This is social
Yeah.
media and real estate.
It's amazing. The work that you did as a behavioral therapist. I had a really good friend in high school that did that for probably about 15 plus years. He focused on autistic children, and he
Yes.
worked all the way through adulthood. And he poured himself into those people. What kind of got you started in that space? Because it's very, very different from the real estate industry.
It's very different because it all kind of started actually when I was going to high school, Miramani High,
Hmm.
and in there, so I had a 529 plan growing up. So I had like ADHD and auditory memory disorder kind of thing. It's like figuring out how to memorize things is very difficult for me. So especially when it comes to language. So I got to do sign language, and I did that at the JC for a couple years. And by
Mm.
going there, we had to volunteer. And so I went to um, so there's a school for the deaf over in Fremont. And so I volunteered there for almost 2 years. Fell in love with that community and working with kids. And that was the first time of kind of working really with kids. And ever since I was like 13, 14 years old, I've been working with kids nonstop. So I kind of went through that and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to Fresno State University to get my degree when it comes to interpreting and working with kids and that kind of stuff. That's kind of why I went to Fresno. And then after a little bit, I kind of pivoted myself into more of a nonprofit work and at-risk youth. And so I kind of made up my own major. And so there's like four different types of majors that I kind of like combined together um, to make my own, which is kind of cool. And so after I graduated there, I fell into ABA therapy,
Mhm.
and that's kind of where the behavioral stuff kind of came through. And got my master's and working with kids from in-home therapy to running school programs actually down in South Bay, which is great. So we're in a couple districts down that way, which is great.
Very interesting. So your day to day it sounded hectic, like scheduling,
Yes.
kids, management, administration. that sounds like a pretty full schedule to take on.
It definitely was, because also I was also helping out the parents as well of how they
Mm.
can help their kids. And so it was parent training that I did as well. Not just the kids, but I also did the kids too. And then at the tail end, before I left to come out here in New Jersey, I went and kind of did more life coaching for people that are like 22 to 26 that are on the spectrum, but they're on the cusp of becoming fully independent. So teaching them how to balance checkbooks, how to go to the grocery store correctly, how can you do like self-care, how, like, what do you do? Let's go find you an apartment. Let's go and try to go through all that stuff. Oh, we're now lost in town. How do we get back?
Mhm.
And just kind of go through that those motions. And so I did that for like a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years.
Wow. I could see how that translates to the real estate space, advisory, the hectic schedules that we all have
Yeah,
in real estate. It feels like our hair is always on fire. We're always
it
having to
is.
deal with something, solve a problem, or settle an issue, or negotiate. Um, to take that experience and move it into the real estate industry, I'm sure was pretty natural for you.
Yeah, I didn't really realize that until I got into it. Because I was like, oh, you'd be great. I'm like, I don't know, like, but we'll see. And then I once I got into it more, it's like there's a lot more psychology in play. There's
Mhm.
especially when it comes to the commercial side of things, there's a lot of egos. So you got to figure out how you can kind of manage that, and how you almost look at a chessboard, but at a 3D level. And my way of thinking of how I was doing behavioral work was that, how basically can I help this kid out while doing something that they don't know actually is happening, to get the result that we're going to be more socially acceptable, behaviors come down, and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I always figure out, how can I do the same thing with my people that I work with, my clients, of I know what they're looking for and what their end goal is. How do we get there? Sometimes they are in their way. And so I guide them in a very kind of nurturing way, but like
Mhm.
in a soft way, to kind of get them to where they need to be going. And so if
So,
they come through and try to get their head out of the way a little bit.
and you started in the residential on the residential side of the business, or did you jump right into
Correct.
commercial out of behavioral work?
I went straight to residential. I went to Hoboken with Jill Biggs Group. And so they were like, I always told, like, go to the biggest and baddest kind of team. And so they pull like 450, 500 million a year as a team in that area. And so I went there for a little bit, and then I came out to like the the more not city life. It's more kind of like the little side streets, and you can park your cars versus going to Hoboken trying to find a parking spot for like 20 minutes. Try to be closer to the family, since I two small kids when I was just starting up.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but so what's interesting is, I've talked to several other brokers who have started on the residential side, including having conversations with myself, because I started on the residential side too, and then moved over to the dark side of commercial real estate. It takes a certain kind of someone to want to jump
Yeah.
into that side of the business. What drew you to commercial real estate? What lights you up in the industry? And what sort of um, aspects of the industry like just are really 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 interesting to you?
So what got me into it is because in the last probably year of my residential stuff, I keep getting a lot of these people that's like, that I was selling a home for over 2 million, and I was like, well, okay, so these guys are like, well, can you help me with like the business I have? Like, I'm trying to expand my company, or do you like, is there like warehouses? And I'm like, I don't know anything. Where do I
Mm.
even go? And so I start like, well, if this keeps knocking on the door, I got to start figuring out how I can help my clients the best. So I start kind of talking to other people in the industry that would be open to talking to a residential guy like me, and let's see what goes on. And start kind of being very open, and kind of like, I'm here just to be a sponge. I will refer this to you and all that kind of stuff. And then slowly kind of do like, oh, I'll do commercial and residential. I'll do 50-50.
Mhm.
And it really didn't come like you got to go full out. You can't
Yeah,
half-ass residential and commercial because they are in reality like they're both real estate, but they're different animals
apples and
of
oranges,
hun-
completely.
completely.
Still
It's
fruit, but very different.
correct. Very different,
Very, very
different
different.
mindset, the clientele you're working with, how big
Mhm.
these properties are, how they are going to be like valued at as well.
Mhm.
Residential, he's like, what's the comp down there? It's because it's a 4-bed, 3-bath. No, this one literally could be right next door, but it all comes down to like the NOI and the
Yeah.
cap rates and other things. And I'm like, what the heck is a cap rate? What's an NOI? Why does it matter? And so I had to really dive into and learn from people that I kind of like leaned on, and they were okay with me leaning on them.
Yeah.
Because everybody always kind of like stick in your lane. So it is very difficult to break into commercial real estate when you're a resident.
And you are in one of the most competitive markets in the country. New Jersey, New York, that New England sub-market is you're up against some heavy hitters, man. So, it's commercial is always known as hyper transactional and it's extremely cutthroat. But it sounds like you've intentionally built your entire business framework around creative collaboration
Correct.
and deep connection, which I think speaks to your behavioral therapy work that you did with kids. Was there a specific inflection point or a specific deal that happened in your career that forced you to realize that the traditional way of doing business wasn't just sustainable? And for personal wellness and long-term well-being, because this show is, it's called the Wealth and Wellness Report. Like, how can we
Absolutely.
build wealth, but do it in a way where we're not burning ourselves out and, we short when it's really a legacy play.
Absolutely correct. Because like that was another like really big push for me to go like screw it. I'm going full out in the commercial is because I mean, yes, like in commercial, in any real estate, you're going to be working kind of 24/7 around the clock. For residential, you are very heavy at nights and weekends. And I was gone 13, 14 or plus hours on the weekends every Saturday and Sunday. And I had a kid that was 3 and a newborn. And like my wife's like, this is a lot. And I'm like, I'm also missing very crucial points of my kids growing up, and I want to be there. I want to be present. I don't want to miss dinners and all these other things. And I knew commercial, a lot of my guys and girls, of course, like they don't want to hear me really unless we are deep into a deal. Like we're negotiating for trying to get under contract, we have DD or anything, then we can have a conversations, whatever. But usually they don't want to hear from me from past 5 o'clock, and by like on Fridays from 4 and then 10 o'clock on Monday, like that time frame, they don't want to hear from me. Maybe some checkups like text or email, but like
Mhm.
they don't want to be on the phone, which is great. So I can still be with my family, be present, and not miss out on the opportunities of building those moments and memories with my kids, because I know that it's very important to me to be as present as possible. And so, how can I leverage what I have with my network to everything and to be able to be as much of a present partner and father to my family as I possibly can?
Yeah.
And so I also like that's why I partner a lot with a lot of these deals. It's because I like to have I want to be able to do as many deals as possible, and I want to be working and making money with the people that are in my tribe and kind of want to rock with me as well. Because it's
Yeah.
never fun to kind of do it on your own. You always want to kind of have like
Team
your
sport, man.
it,
It's
it,
a
it
team
really
sport.
it
It
really is.
really is.
And a
Yeah.
lot of people in the commercial space, they do not understand that it's a relationship. You got to have trusted people. You can't do it by
Hmm.
yourself because you're not going to go anywhere. And if you think that like you are going to be like you might make some things great and you might backstab, you might make some money right now, but like the big play, as we both know, we're here for like a 10 plus year minimum play. And people are going to start reaching out to us with crazy deals that we never even knew existed or doors that even never existed. And
Yeah.
by being upfront, being collaborative, being honest, you could trust me. Like your business is going to flourish. And I've already been seeing it like over the last probably 6 months. Everything finally clicked after 2 years of everybody starts giving me these crazy opportunities, or like marinas that I never did a marina before. I'm like, what the heck? I know boats and that kind of stuff grew around it, but marinas, what the hell? So I kind of found someone who was like, can you help me out? And so I did my research, and now I put over like 98 to show million dollars of LOIs out.
It's amazing. So I love, so Bob, we had Bob on the show, Bob Knackle,
Great guy.
amazing,
Yeah,
amazing guy. And I love what he says about the real estate space or the industry. It's not you're not in the real estate industry, or you're not in the real estate business. You're in the relationship and information business, and how to advise your clients using market-driven statistics and mathematics, because commercial real estate is extensively about math. It's not hard math. It's like eighth grade math, but it's still
yeah,
heavy on stats. It's heavy on mathematics, and less emotional, like on the residential side. Uh,
correct.
and so you're focused on the ability to get higher net worth clients to completely drop their guard, so you can kind of uncover what they actually want out of a deal. I think sounds like a superpower for you because of your ability to connect. For an investor or operator listening right now to this, and we're live on YouTube, by the way, which is really cool.
We are.
We are totally live, brother. And
Yeah, I
so
love it.
this isn't scripted or anything like that.
No.
This is the real deal. Like, we're having a real conversation.
Yeah, this is my first
Um,
time being live, by the way, too.
Amazing. So for these investors and operators that are listening right now, who struggles to build that tier of trust quickly? And what is your blueprint for practicing active listening when egos and stakes are high? And commercial, there's a ton of ego.
Absolutely. So I always feel like you want to make sure you are like almost subtly kind of almost what they're saying, you almost like repeating it in your head. Don't of course say it out loud again, but like almost echoing it to almost stop with your brain, because a lot of us, when they're saying what they need to be saying, we are almost like as like realtors of like asking, we're like waiting for our perfect time to ask our question
Mhm.
to get more clarifying, versus letting it be and have a natural like flow to it, and really kind of understanding, or even like sometimes after the question, all right, so I heard X, Y, and Z. And then like, did I get that correct? Sometimes do that like 2 or 3 times in the conversation, because that will also tell them like you are definitely listening, and then you have an opinion of what's happening. Or hey, do you want me to clarify this? Or hey, can you clarify that again? Can you just tell me like a little bit of X, Y, and Z? Or what was your background of X, Y? How'd you get there? Or like try to build more of a deeper kind of level of communication.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Yeah.
And how can we balance our communication in a way, or integrate it in a way where we don't become too redundant and we don't become annoying to clients? And something that I find extremely valuable is documented communication. Obviously, email, text messages, any other channel of communication that gets recorded is ideal. So
Yep.
you can always go back to a transcript. You can always go back to a text message or an email thread and say, no, this is what we said, and it was time stamped, so that there's a lot more transparency in the
Yep.
communication. Because you know what happens when you open escrow. It's like this micro economy emerges. Everybody comes out of the woodwork, and then all of a sudden you got 20 people working on a deal, and it's tough when they share the same last name. So
That's
when
very
that
true.
happens, it's I think it's huge. Transparency is huge, and what you said, communications, everything. You know, I want to move into like building some assets through the social capital that you're building, because I see you on Instagram. I see you, pounding the videos and getting your name out there, which is everything in today's marketplace. You can't You can't do nearly as much as other brokers when, you know, you have to be on these channels. You have to be top of mind. And in my advisory work, I frequently emphasize that professionals suffer from a major filtration problem. There's like way too much noise and not enough clear signal for a lot of us. When you actively are connecting those dots for yourself and for your clients, especially with these high performers that you're working with, what specific filters do you use to determine who belongs in your collaborative ecosystem, like the inner network or that hub, versus those who are just trying to exploit you and find a shortcut? Because we get a lot of riprap that comes in the door.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I've been curating this probably about 3 years now, and basically honing it down really, really like in about a year and a half. And so I do a lot of, they probably don't even know it, but I test them and kind of push the boundary. Like I keep figuring out like who can I actually trust? Who's got my back, or who like just keep on kind of going through that way. Or I met this person, Carly, on social media, and we hit it off pretty well. And I was like, well, okay, you have a client, you're more on the residential side, I'm on the commercial. Let's see how we can kind of work together. And going through a crazy deal that could have easily been like dropping F bombs, you're the worst, and like all this stuff. We were more of like, all right, how can we help our client? Let's stay level headed. How can we strategically do X, Y, and Z to make sure everybody's happy and it looks smooth? But in reality, in the back, there's fire going everywhere. The walls are coming down. We're trying to plaster things up. Then we come out at the end. We're cheersing. We're like, this was a great experience. And so now, like, all right, she's going to be the inner circle. Like, we were able to go through a tough time, and I know she always had my back, and she also knows that I always had her back. We never had to double take to see are they going to stab me or not. And so, and then other guys that I've worked with as well, there's only like about 6 people in the inner circle that I work with. And we specifically are kind of working together to make sure we are best supporting our clients and get the right information and the right off markets or about to come on the market, or have the relationship. If it's on market, how can we get the best terms and everything to get the true answer for our clients, because it's very important, especially in New Jersey. It's super competitive, especially with everybody coming out of New York coming to Jersey. And on top of that, also a bunch of jobs and money going to be pouring into New Jersey over the next, starting in the next now through the next 15, 20 years. And so this is very competitive, and so you have to leverage every relationship you have. And whenever I bring anybody in, like, they always know, like, I will make sure that you are taken care of financially. And having that, and everybody like really truly believes that, like, will go more than you think.
Yeah.
And so the people who are trying to cut the commissions, you're not going to get anywhere. If I much rather a little bit overpay to make sure that other person's happy, to make sure that relationship so grows, because you never know who that person is going to meet at an event, or cold calls to a seller who has a crazy building that they want to sell off market. And guess what? You actually have that client. And and they're going to knock and call you. Hey, I just got this new opportunity. Do you want it? Do you have a client? And you don't want to miss out on those opportunities.
And you'll be very successful in that regard. I saw a video with Tony Robbins, because I love Tony. I follow him all the time, and he's such an inspiration to me and like the whole world essentially. And he said, you know, entrepreneurship, bet on yourself, you grow, and you give yourself the opportunity, the ability to give. And once you give and you give and you give, that changes your state considerably. And to be generous in the CRE space, it's actually a very low bar, unfortunately. Not a lot of
Yeah.
really approachable, generous, friendly brokers out there. It's very cutthroat. It's very
Yes.
egotistical, and it's very difficult to navigate transactions because these transactions are already technical and they can be complex in many ways. And to have, a battle buddy, somebody that you can really
Correct.
work with on a file that you don't have to look over your shoulder and make sure that they're, screwing you over, talking behind your back, leveraging another client or doing something illegal. It's massive because the
Yeah.
commercial real estate space, it's the Wild West, man. And
It
to
really
have
is.
a solid team, is everything. So I definitely vibe with that. And residential, commercial, obviously very different. We talked about that. Many residential investors look at the commercial landscape and feel very intimidated. It's
Yes.
like this different planet in a different galaxy. Like, I don't want to touch it because it sounds gnarly. How does
Bigger
your model of,
entry, figured everything. Like, I need so much money for it. What the hell? You don't
yeah,
really need to.
it's interesting how it's gotten to that point, but how does your model of pooling resources and sharing networks serve as a functional low stress bridge for someone looking to deploy capital into commercial for, let's say, the first time?
So I've been actually gearing this for the last probably 4 to 6 months. My social media actually is kind of gearing towards this specifically. Actually, is to
Mm-hmm.
because I actually have a couple of good friends that are flippers in the residential side of things, and they're like, it's getting super difficult right now. The margins are getting to be like 8 to 12%, and like that's not what we're looking for. We always want to go like 25 and above. So where do we get? How do we get this? I'm like, well, how much are you spending on the residential side of things? I can get you a small flex warehouse or this for the same thing, or there's something called seller financing. And they're like, I really don't understand that. I've heard about it. I don't understand it. Like, this is where it gets super creative and fun. That commercial, it is the Wild West, and you can get really creative to make it happen. And there's ways to get into a deal for very low cost that the seller will hold a note. And so it's tax benefits for the seller, and they're making money over time, and they're also still in first position. So if shit goes sideways, they come in and take the property back, and they just made money, and then they come back to the same property. They could either sell it again or whatever they want to do. But for the investor coming in, it's a low bar coming in, and I can teach them of how they can do a value add that could give you a couple 100% minimum return on your investment within 1 to 2 years. And you flip that, or you basically cash out refi, if you will, after like this or whatever years for summer financing. You cash
Mm-hmm.
them out, you get a loan, and then you sell it. You come back out and do 1031 to a new property.
Mm-hmm.
And start like, okay, you start here, but then you start leveling up, leveling up, leveling up, leveling up, and you start getting all these assets. And now you're like, I just built a $50 million portfolio within probably 4 to 6 years. You're
Yeah, I've
like,
heard of stories of people
yeah,
doing this. You know.
yeah. It's like, wow, it's crazy. Like, yeah, and then now you have that big pool, and if you basically cash out refi, you don't pay taxes on that. And like, what? It's like, yes, yeah, so now you have a $50 million pool. I need a million or 4 million or whatever it is. You can take it out as a loan,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to pay the big taxes that you would have to pay for other income you would do. And you start buying the now businesses, and you basically start expanding your portfolio and diversify it. And so once you start getting your commercial up, you get buy a business with the cash out refi to come over here. And then now, which is great for the SBA now, is the $10 million that you're able to actually use now versus the 5 million, which is huge because there's so
Massive.
many baby boomers
Yep.
that it's called the silver tsunami for a reason. It's like they want to retire, but no one wants to really take it on as in their kids. So it's a profitable business. It's been around for 10 to 30 years, and they're just tired. You come in, and hopefully, I can kind of teach these people like It's called a key man. You want no key man because if there's the most important part of this business is one person that's going to sell and leave, then you have to come in and try to figure it out together. But if that person can leave and it still generates money, like that's just like another level of cash flow that comes in.
Yeah.
And pretty soon in 10 years, you can make a lot of money without doing a lot of work, as long as you have the right people to help guide you and kind of steer you. Where are you trying to go? And here's the best avenues to get there.
So what you're telling me is we need to call you and work with you in the New Jersey markets. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you in the Bay.
Yes, yes. But New Jersey, I want to talk a little bit about New Jersey because it's very different than the Bay Area. Although I think they have some similarities in terms of it being hyper competitive and being a densely populated MSA. Operating inside that high energy New Jersey market, you deal with fast moving variables like in any high paced MSA. What specific macro trends or shifts are you currently seeing in the East Coast where creative deal structuring, like you had just mentioned, is allowing properties to pencil where standard like underwriting and traditional bank financing would kill the deal?
Like for instance, there was a deal that I was actually working with doing it's a 50%, it's a mobile home park. So 50% for a bank loan and then 50% seller financing. So that was like a really interesting deal to kind of work without having to come out a bunch of money in out of pocket, because there was at least $800,000 to $900,000 of renovations that need to be done. So you wanted to not really come out of pocket right now. So they put as much money into the renovations, so it's cash flowing really heavy over the next year. And then you basically can kind of almost pay off the seller financing even quicker than what they was planning on. So it's a way to kind of strategize yourself there. Or if this property is trying to be the price per square foot is super high, but if you can kind of do a seller financing and kind of make the, because if the rate is going to be like 8.25 or whatever it is, but you can do a seller finance and they're okay with holding a note for 7 to 10 years at 3 or 4%. That's a big difference when it comes to these 10, 20, 30, $40 million plus deals.
Massive, massive.
Massive.
This is prevalent. I mean, you're seeing it right now all over the internet. Like you're seeing syndications and hedge funds that have like picked up these properties in 2021, 2022, and they're sitting on, floating arms that are just like they're just destroying investor money. And
Correct.
it's just beyond me that people pick up this toxic debt. It's so toxic. To have a 3 to 5 year floating arm on something that's in that price range is, I mean, you can do all the things correctly. You can operate the deal correctly. You can add the value correctly. Administration can be on point, and then all of a sudden the economy tanks, and then you're looking at like a doubling of your interest rate and completely gut your net operating income. So the seller financing is, especially multifamily, like
absolutely.
it's massive. Like you fix in something for 10, 15 years and then add a balloon clause at the end of that 15. Like if this thing doesn't appraise at the end of 15 years, you're going to give me a couple more years so that this thing is going to pencil, because I'm not going to lose my shorts.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like right now there's a handful of these deals. One in particular was out in the Midwest. It did great. It did perfect. And it was a Class A building for a multi. And they had to sell $19 million less because everything ballooned. And it almost tripled of what they had for the interest rate. And so like you basically had this phenomenal opportunity, great asset, making some great money. And over a couple of years, it was great. But then you had to sell for $19 million what you bought it for, and you just completely wiped away all of your profits and some more, and like it is crazy.
Yeah.
But
Are
now
you
is a
seeing quite a
great
bit of
time.
that in the Jersey markets right now?
No, not so much
No.
right now.
Okay.
but it is definitely coming. I think there is a lot more. It's more hush hush because
Hmm.
I know for a fact like things are happening over last year, but I'm seeing this year right now is very much. There's a lot more activity. There's a lot more people who are sitting in cash, waiting for these opportunities to go and snatch up these great properties that are cash flowing.
Yeah.
Um, but you can get at a seller financing deal. You can go and be creative with it, or figure out another way to pick up these Class A or B properties, or find
Hmm.
out a way for these C's, and it only takes you $1 million to do some renovations, and you can make 5, 6, 7 times that money.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the asset classes that you're currently working on in Jersey?
Right now, marinas and industrial plays are kind of like my number one and number two.
Hmm.
And then I do have a couple of connects when it comes to looking for multifamilies, and then some iOS as well, which is like a little bit of warehouse, but like a lot of like truck parking and that kind of stuff.
Very
It's
cool.
very scarce, especially out here, because everybody wants to be next to like Elizabethport,
Yeah.
within 30 miles, because it's such a massive port that you need to have trucks to carry things back and forth. And so things are going like, I had a conversation once a couple weeks ago. This guy is 3 miles away from it, and he wants like $9 million an acre.
Oh wow. Yeah. So is that like one of the largest ports on the East Coast? Which one's the largest
Yes,
one? Do you know?
that would be it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I want to move into another segment, Greg. It's the wellness of abundance.
Yeah.
We do quite a bit of work here in our market that speaks to health and wellness in the built environment, and we feel like having healthy spaces and healthy neighborhoods will help not only the inhabitants with tenure and longevity, but it increases real estate values considerably. A
Mhm.
lot of professionals, I think, gatekeep information out of underlying fear when it comes to this type of activity. They worry that if there's a strategy or a connection, they're shrinking their own piece of the pie. Like when you have a niche, like you really want to dive deeply into it. What is operating from a baseline of absolute abundance done for you and your mental health? And like in terms of baseline anxiety as a high volume business owner, like you're doing all these deals, you're working with all these people. Like, how do you keep that um, energy intact, and how do you protect your integrity and your credibility in the marketplace?
Whatever you say is word. Let's see if you're going to follow up, you're going to do it. Or if you are going, like, you gotta, your word is everything. So if you keep breaking your word or go back on your promises, and you try to lie a little bit or those kind of things, like it won't work. Be the abundant side of things. Like I'm always like certain things of the you will always have more, and it's always better to give, because if you do that, it's almost responsibility of like it'll come back twice fold or whatever you want to call it, back to you, and it just kind of it's like a full cycle. It keeps coming back and forth. So like the inner circle, there's going to be a lot of things of I give out to them, they give back to me,
Mhm.
and we just keep on building each other's ecosystems, and the money will just flow back and forth. Money is just it's
It's
a
current.
tool. It's current. It moves, and the
Yeah.
more opportunities you let it flow, it will also then flow back with you as well. So as long as you're giving your time, all that kind of stuff, like it will come back to you. You don't know when. It could be 6 months, a couple of years, whatever, but it will come back.
Yeah. I love that. We speak a lot about, we speak a lot on this show about the emotional safety net. And it's something that, we don't really talk, I think, enough in commercial real estate is, our mental health and our well-being, in our emotional capabilities and abilities to connect to, I mean, it's very psychological, it's very mental, it's very emotional, even though it's highly mathematical in the space. Every decision you make is going to, especially when you're looking at higher price points, it's gonna move you a little bit.
Yeah.
When a market shifts though, or an asset class faces sudden headwinds, because we see this in real estate, obviously it's cyclical.
Yes.
How does having a deeply integrated network protect an investor's well-being, compared to the person just trying to white knuckle it entirely alone?
You're able to flip. So like I have the inner circle, like everybody has their like quote unquote niche in the marketplace. So we got retail, we got industrial, we got marinas, multifamilies, iOS, land, developments. And so all of us together, any type of storm of it hits a class, we can pivot to the other classes that are now like taking off because
Mhm.
the other person that's been doing this and they have a big Rolodex of ownerships and that kind of thing. And we just basically pivot. And we say, hey, like this is the reason why you want to work with me or one of my inner circle people is because we are so ingrained into the relationships for on market and off market that like it's going to be very difficult to match what we have and to be able to get you a opportunity quickly, efficiently, and the kind of the price that you're kind of looking for and give you opportunities that you didn't think were out there for you and we can kind of pivot very quickly. Oh,
Mhm.
if the industrial side of things aren't working out, pivot over to iOS. Perfect. Guess what? We already have 7 opportunities for iOS, and I'm going to send it over to you within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Like efficiency, quickness is imperative, especially in this
Clarity.
business.
Yeah.
Clarity. How
Yeah.
can we move? Because sometimes, like for instance, how about for a 1031s? You are on a time crunch. If you can't find an opportunity, you could have a lot of people involved hurt financially, psychologically, everything. So like you got to make sure you got to move very efficiently and quickly and give opportunities on a drop of a dime.
So it's nonstop, and a lot of, there can be a lot of friction, there could be a lot of stress, and there could be a lot
Yes.
of sleepless nights that occur when a deal might potentially fall apart. What do you do to stay on track, to stay level headed, to stay on point in this business?
Um, I work out in the mornings. Um, I I in the beginning stages I was focusing really heavy when it comes to my career, and I definitely fell off the wagon when it comes to like health
Mm.
and so I needed to switch that up. So I switched it up to 4 days a week, 5 days a week, working out, trying to kind of get things up and running. I also love comedy. Laugh is like the best medicine, as Robin Williams says, right?
Yes.
And so that's what I always kind of like. I love comedy, going to see comedy, whatever. And it kind of brightens the mood. And also a nice thing is blare loud music while you're driving.
Oh
Roll the
yeah.
windows down and just
Just
like
crank it.
let it crank it,
Yeah.
sing, belch it, even if it's off tune. uh, but yeah, those are the kind of things like I want always trying to be as lighthearted as possible because when you go into these stressful situations, you can't be tense. You have to be the most calm, cool, collected. You gotta be able to like depending on the situation, like crack up a little bit of a joke to like lighten the mood up a little bit because if any of your client, the seller or buyer or whatever, and they're getting really intense, like you gotta like bring them back, lower their
Yeah.
temperature, if you will.
Hmm. Hmm.
How can you do that? And if you're already at a level 10 coming into this thing, it's going to be very difficult for you to come down to a level 1 and help him to come down here too. But if you're already
Yeah.
coming into the deal here and here, you can easily kind of drop him down at least a handful of points.
Yeah. That's massive responsibility for an advisor, is to how to temper the emotions and kind of the dynamics of a transaction between buyer and seller. And negotiations, they can get pretty heated.
Yes.
And I think that's a really good skill to have in the space for sure. But in terms of like bad actors, it's not really anything we can do about what other people do. It's, I think, our ability to respond, obviously, is the best thing that we can equip ourselves with, is that sort of mental fortitude and that um, response mechanism that we institute within our advisory services. But bad connections, they happen. And since your network is primarily, off market inventory, a single bad actor can cause massive collateral damage
Yes.
to your reputation, to your team's reputation, to your group's reputation, to your brokerage. Can you take us through like some of your personal vetting processes for, let's say if you're doing whether it's a buyer rep or a seller rep, if you got exclusives on a deal, what are the immediate red flags that you tell an investor or a property owner that is not a cultural fit for you and your ecosystem?
They can't make decisions really quickly. They're like flip-flopping back and forth. They can't figure out what they really want. Because if they don't really know what they want and I can't get it out of you of what you want, I don't know how to help you. Because if you don't know how to help yourself too, what are we trying to do? I can help as much as possible. But if you can't figure out what you are trying to accomplish after our conversation of me trying to do leading questions and try to figure out like what is the best way for you, then we're not unfortunately a fit. If you use me, we have a conversation, we sign an agreement, and I hear that you go behind my back to another broker or those kind of things. I mean, we've seen it before. That most of these people who are investors in the space, they probably know 15, 20, 30 different brokers. And so it's sometimes like, oh, I want to try to cut your commission or those things. I will blacklist a client if they go behind me, try to cut my commissions, because I know what my value is, my worth is. I'm not playing this game of trying to appease you, do everything. I fully believe that I go all in, white glove service. And if you trying to go around me after I give you all this, like, what are we even doing?
Yeah.
And which means like if you're doing that in the very beginning, like why, like it makes no sense for me to keep on working with you.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have these very, very important conversations right out of the gate, and you build the expectation, you build the transparency, and then you build, an experience and a journey. And I think that really separates an advisor from, just a regular old broker or somebody who's just doing something that's very transactional. I think that having that white glove service and that experience really in any business, that experience and that customer success journey
Yeah.
becoming a cornerstone of the brand. People are going to come back to you and they're going to want to work with you. And I'm kind of the same way with you too. Like I don't want to work with, people that are going to take advantage or that are going to lie and cheat and steal. But, a lot of the times you don't really know until you have
Correct.
your spidey sense, and what we do is, for the most part, any buyer consultation or seller consultation, we walk them through a survey of questions. We get very clear with goals and expectations and the vision. What is the objective? And then we get to learn more deeply how we can build the advisory around this specific client, because this retail buyer for a 15,000 square foot anchor is going to be very different than if you were putting together, a development package for a multifamily unit that is going to span between, let's say, 50 and 100. It's going to be very, very different personas.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm with you on that. In terms of generational social capital, how can we pass this baton to our groups, to our junior advisors, to our collaborators or business associates is, I think, instrumental in keeping the brand encased and, just chugging along with, firing off on all cylinders and having it be something that lasts ultimately, because that's why
Absolutely
we're in
correct.
the real estate space. Is we're in it for the long haul. We're in it for the long game. And we often discuss building generational wealth through like the physical real estate, the bones of the building, the brick, the mortar, the concrete, the rebar. But how do we pass down generational social capital? And how are you teaching the next generation? Because it sounds like you've worked with kids or even your younger clients, the actual art of building deep human connections in a world that is increasingly isolated and becoming more screen dependent.
That absolutely correct because like right now, I mean, I use AI a lot. I know you use AI a lot. I mean, a lot of people do, especially in the space. So when it comes to information, a lot of people have information, but AI, they can't connect. They can't have that emotional pull for people. Like right now, it's the people who want to like this break bread with you, that wants to hang out with you. They actually trust you. Like that's where also on top of that of course the BOV, like the broker opinion stuff to the other values we bring. But I feel like if this is the most important thing, it's the personal touch right now that you have to like. That's what I'm doing. At least I'm going like 1,000% into
Mm.
because I know over probably about less than a year, everybody can write up an OM, they can underwrite a deal, they can do all these other things with all these other apps and AI stuff they could do. But what AI can't do is the social, the
Talk to people.
psychological
Yeah.
talk. How can you be relatable? Can you
Yeah.
bring emotion to a client? Can you open them up? Can AI can't tell if you don't really know what's going on, but I can kind of like ask questions to pull out what you're really wanting. AI can't
Hmm.
really do that as much, especially in a way that you feel happy at the like. It's a different touch, and that's what I've really been like seeing with AI over the last year, 6 months, even a few months now. It's going to be paramount. So if you don't learn this now in this, and that's been teaching a couple of people too, like you are going to be left in the dust.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you're going to say, what's happening? Like, how are you getting all these deals and stuff? I've been trying to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, well, you aren't networking, you aren't talking to people, you aren't being real, you aren't opening up and being like vulnerable a little bit with your clientele
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and kind of having that kind of emotional attachment to you because you're just a transaction. And if you're just transaction, you're just a regular person. And all
Yeah.
these other buyers and stuff out there, they can just run their own numbers and go straight to the sellers and do the
Yeah.
same thing we're doing.
I think there's a juxtaposition uh, that I think you and I are very well aware of in the commercial real estate space. It's that so the connection that we speak of, but then also the the how would I describe it? Like the edge in the deal, because when you're working with, let's say, institutional buyers or
Mhm.
sellers, they don't give a rat's ass about who you are, where you come from, and how emotional you get in a deal. They will take advantage of you. In fact, they'll probably say, you're a softie. You're not going to be able to really dig into this deal like I need you to. So this juxtaposition of being fierce and edge and having that edge, but then also being able to cradle this opportunity in a way that's going to birth not only your commissions, but ideally at the very forefront of everything is your client. The one that you're advising, they come first, and they
Yes.
always come first. And so you almost have to have like this double-edged sword that you're fighting with. You're just going to war with like this, like I'm edgy, I'm strong, I'm grounded, nobody's gonna bully me. But then at the same time, like I'm able to listen, I'm empathetic, I can hear you, and then advise. And I think that's where a fiduciary really comes into play
Correct.
in what we're doing is like that fiduciary obligation kind of has kind of both sides of that coin. You know what I mean?
Correct. And a lot of people don't use that fully or know how to actually do it without like being taught this. And a lot of people, they don't really want to teach this kind of stuff because that means the abundance mindset, as we were talking about before, like they had more of a scarcity mindset. And
Yeah.
so it's going to be really interesting to see, I would say, between 6 months all the way through the next like 5 years, how the industry is going to pivot, who actually is going to be on top, who's going to be winning, who won, but now is not winning,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
see kind of where it lies. But I think more emotional intelligence is going to be really like that's where it's going to be separating everything.
I completely agree, man. We're kind of winding down on the show, man. This has been great.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you
you
so much
being
for having
here.
me on.
Absolutely. We're hitting what we call the rapid fire round on our show. Not something that I really tell anybody about. It's kind of like at the very end, it's a surprise. I'm going to
Oh,
fire off some questions, man. And
perfect.
they're just quick one-liners, top of mind. I think it's a fun little sesh. So you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Cool. Number one, what is the single biggest mistake people make when attempting to network with high performers?
Um, be more like you almost overdoing the sell of who you are and what you did.
Overzealous.
Very much so. Because
Yeah.
you're trying to outdo them. It doesn't make sense. Be more personable, be more humble, will speak way louder to those people, those that
Oh,
are already
yes.
accomplished way better and bigger things than
Yeah.
you ever done.
Yeah. Commercial property or residential property for true long-term peace of mind?
Commercial.
I had a feeling you were going to say
It's
that.
weird.
What is one daily habit or personal boundary that protects your wellness while managing a high volume real estate career?
Set boundaries. That's
Mm,
going to be the biggest thing.
that's a good
Before I
one.
used to be nonstop, and now with the boundaries, it's people listen to it and everything. Like same with like with lawyers and doctors and everybody has like this is the hours, this is what's going on. Here's where you can have access with me. Here's if it's going through a crazy deal, you are the only one that has access to me because we need to get this deal done.
Yeah.
But don't let everybody use you at any time.
I think when you start out, you say yes to everything, right?
Correct.
You know,
You
you're
have to,
building, you have to.
but
And then at some point, you have to learn how to say no. And that is really hard to do because you've been saying yes for so long.
correct.
And if you care, because I know you do, and you know, those people out there who like really truly give a shit, like it's hard to not say, you know, like it's hard to just
It
you
is.
want to help. And I think that building that boundaries is huge. It's super important. Complete this sentence. True financial wealth is completely meaningless if you don't have.
Health.
That's the foundation, man.
Ain't that's yeah,
Ain't that the truth?
absolutely.
It's the
I'm trying to
rock.
be here for a very, very long time with my
Yeah.
family. Wealth, it comes and goes, whatever. But if I'm not present, like that's not what I want to be doing.
It's
Or
yeah, I
I
guess it's
can't
all
move. I can't
perspective.
walk and do
Yeah.
these activities with my kids or
Right.
travel. Like wealth is
Yeah.
nothing.
Like when you're healthy, I mean, you can take on the world, man. So that's I love that answer, dude, for sure. If you could give a 20-year-old Greg Sly one piece of advice about cutting through the noise of this industry, what would it be?
Find 4 to 6 people that are like-minded with you. You will find them. Network as much as you possibly can. And once you have at least that 4, then pour everything into those people
Double down.
and don't trip all down, all down, all the downs, and
I love
you
it.
will see your everything prosper very quickly.
Yeah. What is one book or framework or mentor that completely changed the way you view business risk?
I don't know if you know this guy, but Gary V.
Oh, dude, Gary is the man.
Gary is
We all know
Gary's
that.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gary V for sure, because that's like the emotional stuff, like that's emotional intelligence. Like I was
Mhm.
also not a good school person. Like I got like C's, D's, a little bit of B's, and but like
Yeah.
I connect to people very quickly and that kind of stuff. I really resonate with what he has and how we like can build people up and build big
Mhm.
businesses and that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to kind of see that kind of aspect, like, and still just like fucking dominate. So it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And like he would attack risk with empathy, which is, I think, it's his brand. Like he just
Yeah.
he's one of the most empathetic entrepreneurs that you'll ever meet. I have yet to meet him. I've seen him speak, but at some point, maybe one day I'll shake his hand. But yeah, Gary Vee is awesome, dude. What is the New Jersey commercial real estate market's best kept secret right now in a single word?
Um,
I'll give you 2 words.
Ready? Migration.
Mm. Everybody coming back from Florida? What's going on?
So people are coming back a little bit from Florida. People are also coming out of all different states because of all the big companies coming into New Jersey right now.
Mhm.
We have a lot of people that are flooding us from New York. They're trying to get
Interesting.
out a lot of different things. It doesn't make sense anymore for investors. Like I had a
Yeah.
big guy that are they own like $400 million worth of stuff over in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and they said, I don't want to buy a dime anything else into New York. We're focusing. We have 125 million to spend in New Jersey alone.
And I would imagine, obviously, that's policy that's
Correct.
driving the migration.
Absolutely, policy, and it's not investor friendly, landlord friendly, that kind of stuff. Like so, for the financially, it doesn't make sense anymore to
Yeah.
be there. Um, and so these investors, they're getting super savvy. So where should we put our money that actually can compound it quickly? It's more in my favor, or
Mhm.
how can I just keep on building this wealth to propel my family to the next stratosphere?
Yeah. Greg, this has been awesome, man. Appreciate you being on the show. Anything
Thank you.
you'd like to add or
I
suggest
mean,
for the
uh,
audience?
come follow me on all platforms. The real Greg Sly, the
The real Greg Sly.
REAL Greg Sly.
Cool. And do you have a like a LinkedIn, or I mean, if you want to drop a phone number or something,
Yeah,
people can find you?
you can always call me 908 My email address is GregSly.re@gmail.com.
Sweet. Greg, this has been great, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. Take it easy.
You as well, man.
All right, bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.